How are you guys doing? Today is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances that took place yesterday on Monday, September 13th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time, just taking a look at where we are. The first week of the NFL has just finished as we're a month away from the NBA getting started. Of course, college football season is just underway as well. Same with the Champions League as that starts today as well. Not to mention that the MLB is about a month away from being over. But first, I'm going to get into the very last matchup of the first week of the 2021 NFL season. Jumping out to Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Raiders hosted the Baltimore Ravens. And in a game that would go to overtime, the Las Vegas Raiders would end up beating the Ravens in overtime thanks to a 31-yard pass from Derek Carr to Zay Jones. A player that after the game he gave all his praises to. So, of course, that should speak to that relationship. For the Baltimore Ravens in this matchup, their elite starting quarterback, Lamar Jackson, he would complete 19 of his 30 passes, throwing for 235 yards and a touchdown. On the ground, he would go on to run for 86 yards. That would be a total of 311 total yards of offense. 321 total yards of offense, just to get a sense of what he was doing through the air and on the ground. Also, Tyson Williams would finish with 65 yards on 9 carries and a touchdown. He would have 29 yards through the air, which would go on to combine for 94 total yards of offense. Their leading receiver, Sammy Watkins, had 96 yards on 4 receptions. On the defensive side of the ball for Baltimore, their leading tacklers were Patrick Queen and their elite their elite corner, Marlon Humphrey. Additionally, 3 of their players had a sack, and Anthony Averett would have the only interception of the game off Derek Carr. For the Las Vegas Raiders, their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, threw for 435 yards along with 2 touchdowns and a pick. On the ground, their elite running back, Josh Jacobs, had 34 yards on 10 carries and 2 touchdowns. Also, he would have 6 yards through the air, so he had 40 total yards of offense. Their leading receiver, their starting tight end, Darren Waller, would have 105 yards on 10 receptions and a touchdown. Also, Bryan Edwards would have 81 yards on 4 receptions and a touchdown for himself. On the defensive side of the ball for the Raiders, Denzel Perryman, Jonathan Abram, and Corey Littleton would each have 10 tackles themselves. Max Crosby on the defensive line would have 6 tackles, as 2 of them were sacks. With this win, the Las Vegas Raiders will now start their NFL season 1-0, and with this loss, the Baltimore Ravens are now 0-1 to start their season. The next NFL game that will take place will be on Thursday the 16th as the Washington football team hosts the New York Giants. But other than that, taking a look at what's going on with the MLB, starting in New York, the New York Yankees hosted the Minnesota Twins. The Twins would score the first 5 runs of the game in the first 3 innings, and the Yankees would eventually come back. They would tie the game at 5 in the 8th inning, and in the bottom of the 10th inning, it would be a Gary Sanchez RBI single that would give the Yankees their 80th win of the year. For the Minnesota Twins, the start was given to John Gant. John Gant would allow no earned runs in the .2 innings he pitched as he was pulled in the first inning. The loss would go to the Twins closer, Ralph Garza Jr. Garza Jr. allowed no earned runs in .1 inning pitched. He would strike out 1 batter before not finishing the 10th. With this loss, he's now 1-3 on the year. In the Twins batting lineup, their second baseman, Luis Arraez, would end up going 2 for 5. Their center fielder, Byron Buxton, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 14th home run of the season. Their designated hitter, Jorge Polanco, at 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 30th home run of the year. And then their first baseman, Miguel Sano, would go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. Sano would hit his 27th home run of the season. For the Bronx Bombers, New York Yankees, the start was given to Luis Gil. Gil allowed 5 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 8. The win was given to the Yankees closer, Clay Holmes. Holmes would allow no earned runs as he pitched the entire 10th, striking out a batter. With this win, he's 8-3 on the year. In the Yankees batting lineup, their left fielder Joey Gallo would be the only player on the team with more than one hit. He went 2-for-4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 33rd home run of the year. Also, their elite right fielder Aaron Judge would go 1-for-3 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 33rd home run of the season as well. With this win, the New York Yankees are now 80-64. That is the third best record in the American League East, as they've only won 2 of their last 10 games. They trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 9 games in the division as they are holding on to that second American League wildcard spot. They sit 1 game behind the Toronto Blue Jays, who are holding that top spot, and they have 1 less win and 1 less loss than the Boston Red Sox. So even though they're even, the Yankees are only sitting in that second wildcard spot because of win percentage. And that's how close the American League wildcard is. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 63-81. That is the worst record in the American League Central. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They trail the Chicago White Sox by 19.5 games in the division, as they are 1 game away from being eliminated from playoff contention. Jumping out to our nation's capital, the 2 worst teams in the National League East faced off. The Nationals hosted the Marlins, and the Marlins were able to shut out the Nationals 3-0, holding the Nats to only 2 hits all game. For the Washington Nationals, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Paolo Espino. He would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 6. With this loss, Paolo Espino is 4-5 on the year. In the Nats batting lineup, nobody would finish with more than 1 hit, and that would be attributed to great pitching from the Marlins. For the Marlins, the win went to their starting pitcher, Sandy Alcantara. He allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in the first 8 innings of the game as he struck out 7. With this win, he's 9-13 on the season. The save would end up going to the Miami Marlins closer, Dylan Floro. He allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning. This would be his 11th save of the year. In the Marlins batting lineup, their first baseman for the day, Lewin Diaz, would go 2-for-4 with a run. He was the only player with more than 1 hit. With this win, the Miami Marlins are 61-83. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, as they now trail the Atlanta Braves by 16 games in the division. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are now 59-85. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they've lost 6 of their last 10 games. They now trail the Atlanta Braves by 18 games in the division at the moment. Jumping out to Toronto, the Toronto Blue Jays hosted the Tampa Bay Rays, and while they're fighting for that playoff spot, they were able to earn it after getting 17 hits against the Rays and holding the Rays to only 2 hits all day. Like I said, while beating them 8-1, scoring all 8 of their runs between the 4th and 6th innings. For the Tampa Bay Rays in this matchup, the start was given to Colin McHugh. He would allow no earned runs in 2.1 innings pitched as he struck out a batter. The loss would go to the Rays' first relief pitcher on the day, Ryan Yarbrough. He would allow 7 earned runs in 2.1 innings pitched as he allowed 10 hits in that span. He would strike out a batter, and with this loss, Ryan Yarbrough is 8-5 on the year. In the Rays batting lineup, the only player to get an RBI was their left fielder, Austin Meadows. He went 1-for-4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 25th home run of the season. For the Toronto Blue Jays, the win went to their starting pitcher, Alek Manoah. He allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in 8 innings pitched as he struck out 10. With this win, he's 6-2 on the year. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, their all-star shortstop, Bo Bichette, would go 1-for-5 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 24th home run of the season. Their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., would go 1-for-5 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 45th home run of the season. Their right fielder, Teoscar Hernandez, would go 5-for-5 with 2 runs. Their left fielder, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., would go 3-for-4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. Their center fielder, Randall Grichuk, would go 3-for-4 with an RBI and a run. And then their third baseman, Breivik Valera, would end up going 3-for-3 with 3 RBIs. With this win, the Toronto Blue Jays are 81-63. That is the second best record in the American League East. They've won their last 4 games. That is the best winning streak in the American League at the moment. They're tied for the 4th fourth best winning streak in all of baseball with the LA Dodgers. They've won 9 of their last 10 games, and they now trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 8 games in the division. At the moment, the Blue Jays are holding on to the top American League wildcard spot as they sit 1 game ahead of the second place New York Yankees in that race. With this loss, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 89-55. That is the best record in the American League East still, and the best record in the American League. They have the second best, or they are tied with the Milwaukee Brewers now for the third best record in all of baseball, behind the LA Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. The Rays have lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. And at the moment, they sit 8 games ahead of the second-place Toronto Blue Jays in the division, but they are still holding on to that number 1 playoff spot in the American League, sitting ahead of the second-seed Houston Astros out west, and they are sitting ahead of the third-seed Chicago White Sox, currently controlling the Central. Jumping out to Queens, the New York Mets hosted the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cardinals would shut the Mets out, winning it 7-0 as they scored 4 of their 7 runs in the 9th inning. For the New York Mets, the loss would go to their starting pitcher, Rich Hill. He allowed 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this loss, he's 6-7. In the Mets batting lineup, no one in their batting lineup would finish with more than 1 hit. And then for the St. Louis Cardinals, the win would go to their starting pitcher, Adam Wainwright. He allowed no earned runs off of 4 hits in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this win, he's 16-7 on the year. And in the Cardinals batting lineup, their elite first baseman, Paul Goldschmidt, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 25th home run of the year. Their left fielder, Tyler O'Neill, went 2 for 4 with a run. Their future Hall of Famer, Yadier Molina, went 3 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. And their center fielder, Harrison Bader, went 3 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 74-69. That is the third best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 3 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. At the moment, they trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 14.5 games in the division. And right now, they are tied with the San Diego Padres, sitting half a game behind the Cincinnati Reds, as alongside the Padres, the Cardinals are the first team on the outside looking in. This might have been the closest they've been to the wild card all season. With this loss, the New York Mets are now 72-73. That is the third best record in the National League East, as they've lost 6 of their last 10 games. They trail the Atlanta Braves by 5.5 games in the division. And at the moment, they trail the Cincinnati Reds by 3.5 games for that second wild card spot, as they are the 4th team on the outside looking in. They trail the San Diego Padres, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Philadelphia Phillies at the moment, in addition to the Cincinnati Reds. Jumping out to Dallas, the Texas Rangers hosted the Houston Astros for this intra-Texas matchup, and the Astros would end up beating the Rangers 15-1 to get their 84th win of the season. For the Texas Rangers, the loss was given to their starting pitcher, Spencer Howard. Howard would allow 6 earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 2 before getting pulled in the second inning. With this loss, Spencer Howard is 0-4. In the Rangers batting lineup, their shortstop, Isaiah Kiner Falefa, will go 3 for 4. Their first baseman, Nathaniel Lowe, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI as well. For the Houston Astros, the start went to Jake Odorizzi. He allowed no earned runs in 1.1 inning pitch, striking out a batter. The win would go to the Astros' first relief pitcher, Christian Javier. He would allow 1 earned run in 2.2 innings pitched as he struck out 6. With this win, he's now 4-1 on the year. In their batting lineup, their elite second baseman, Jose Altuve, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs. Their elite third baseman, Alex Bregman, will go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 10th home run of the year. Their designated hitter, Yordan Alvarez, would go 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 4 runs. He would hit his 29th and 30th home runs of the year. Their first baseman, Yuli Gurriel, would end up going 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run for himself. And then their left fielder, Jose Siri, would end up going 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs and 3 runs. He would hit his first 2 home runs of the season for Houston. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 84-59. That is the best record in the American League West. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. They sit 6.5 games ahead of the second place Seattle Mariners in their division. Right now, they're holding on to the second seed in the American League playoff picture as they trail the first seed Tampa Bay Rays out east, and they sit ahead of the third seed Chicago White Sox in the Central. With this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 53-90. That is the worst record in the American League West. They have now lost 4 of their last 10 games as they trailed the Houston Astros by 31 games in the division. At the moment, they are one of 2 teams in the American League who have been eliminated from 2021 playoff contention as they share that camp alongside the Baltimore Orioles. Jumping out to the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants, the holders of the best record in baseball, hosted the San Diego Padres and were able to pull off a 9-1 win in order to be the first team in the MLB to clinch the playoffs all season. For the San Diego Padres, the loss will go to their elite starting pitcher, Yu Darvish. He allowed 8 runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this loss, he's 8-10. In the Padres batting lineup, their first baseman Eric Hosmer went 2 for 3. Their right fielder Will Myers went 2 for 4. And then for the San Francisco Giants, the start was given to Dominic Leone. He would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit in 2 innings pitched as he struck out a batter. The win would go to the Giants' second relief pitcher, Zach Little. He allowed no earned runs in 1.2 innings pitched. He would go on to finish the 4th and 5th innings for San Francisco, and he would strike out 2 batters. With this win, he's now 3-0 on the season. In the Giants' batting lineup, their third baseman, former American League MVP, Evan Longoria, would go 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs and a run. He would hit his 12th home run of the season as he was the only player on the Giants with more than 1 hit. With this win, the San Francisco Giants are now 94-50. That is the best record in all of baseball. They've won their last 8 games, and they've won 9 of their last 10. They sit 2.5 games ahead of the second-place LA Dodgers in their division. And like I said, the San Francisco Giants are the first team in all of the MLB to secure one of the 10 available playoff spots. So, of course, congratulations to them. And with this loss, the San Diego Padres are now 74-69. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West as they've lost their last 4 games and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They trail the San Francisco Giants by 19.5 games in the division. And right now they trail the Cincinnati Reds by half a game for that second wildcard spot as they, alongside the St. Louis Cardinals, are the first team on the outside looking in for the National League wildcard picture, just to give a sense of how close everything is for that second spot. That first spot is pretty comfortable because going out to LA, the LA Dodgers were able to beat the Diamondbacks 5-1 to cushion their lead in the wild card race. For the Arizona Diamondbacks in this matchup, the loss would go to their elite starting pitcher, Zach Gallen. He would allow 4 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 4. With this loss, Zach Gallen is 2-10 on the season. In the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their third baseman, Josh Rojas, would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI. He was the only player on the Diamondbacks with more than 1 hit. For the LA Dodgers, the start would go to their goated starting pitcher, Clayton Kershaw. He allowed 1 earned run in 4.1 innings pitched as he struck out 5. The win would go to the Dodgers' first relief pitcher, Phil Bickford. He allowed no earned runs in 1 inning pitched, and with this win, he's 4-2 on the year. In the Dodgers batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Corey Seager, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their all-star third baseman, Justin Turner, would go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 25th home run of the season. And then their catcher, Austin Barnes, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the LA Dodgers are now 92-53. That is the second best record in the National League West. They've won their last 4 games and they've won 7 of their last 10. They sit 2.5 games behind the San Francisco Giants within their division. And right now they're holding on to that top National League wildcard spot, sitting 16.5 games ahead of the second place Cincinnati Reds in their division, or in the wild card race itself, just to show how comfortable they are. It may be a matter of time before they clinch a spot in the playoffs themselves. Before I get to the last game, with this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 47-97. That is now the worst record in the National League West. That is the worst record in the National League as well. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 47 games in the division. That is also the gap between the best and worst teams in the National League, 47 games. And with that said, last but not least, the Seattle Mariners hosted the Boston Red Sox. The Mariners would end up beating the Red Sox 5-4 as they scored 3 of their 5 runs in the 7th inning off of a home run from Mitch Haniger, his 33rd of the year. For the Boston Red Sox in this matchup, the start went to Eduardo Rodriguez. He would allow 2 runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 6. The loss will go to the Boston Red Sox first relief pitcher on the day, Ryan Brazier. Brazier allowed 3 runs in .2 innings pitched, and with this loss, he's 0-1. In the Red Sox batting lineup, their all-star shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 21st home run of the year. Their all-star third baseman, Rafael Devers, would go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 34th home run of the year. And then their second baseman, Jose Iglesias, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run. He hit his 9th home run of the season. For the Seattle Mariners, the start went to Logan Gilbert. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 5 hits in 6 innings pitched, striking out 9. The win for the Mariners went to their first relief pitcher, Diego Castillo. He allowed no earned runs and struck out 2 in the 7th inning. The save would end up going to the closer, Drew Steckenrider. Steckenrider would allow no earned runs in the 9th as he struck out 2. With his save, he now is 9 on the year. And with Diego Castillo's win, he's 4-5, if I didn't mention that earlier. For the Seattle Mariners batting lineup, their shortstop, J.P. Crawford, went 3 for 4 with 2 runs. Their right fielder, Mitch Haniger, would end up going 4 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run. As like I said earlier, he hit his 33rd home run of the season. With this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 78-66. That is the second best record in the American League West. They've won 6 of their last 10 games as they now trail the Houston Astros by 6.5 games in the division. Right now, they are also sitting 2 games behind the New York Yankees for that second American League wildcard spot. They are the second team on the outside of the American League wildcard picture looking in, as they also trail the Boston Red Sox for that spot as well. Right now, that is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's matchups and taking a quick look at what's going on, or at least like what happened yesterday. Everton was able to beat Burnley to retain their spot at the top of the table for the Prem. And really today is just going to be a lot of Champions League soccer. And once all of those matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow on Wednesday, September 15th with another episode of The Elite once they're done. First, I want to thank, of course, the MLB, the NFL, FIFA websites, of course, for giving me the facts and figures that I needed in order to do this. I, of course, want to apologize to the names that I butchered in the making of this show. I do plan on getting a lot of these people's names right, but the thing about sports is that there's so many people coming in. It's very, I will eventually try to learn your name as a sign of respect. And with that said, last but not least, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 22 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And once all of today's exhibitions are done, I'll come back tomorrow. So once again, thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out. I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, September 14th. This is The Elite. I'm James Sims. And like I said, I'll catch you tomorrow.